this is a recap on the two shows I've just done, which was When We Go Low, which was a second year actors piece, and A Night to Remember, which was the dancers' second year piece. It was the last pieces for the shows they've done. And so how the lighting and sound went was not too bad. We had a couple of technical difficulties during both the shows. First one was when we did the dance show. The speakers at the back decided to fail. One actually blew. So how we overcome that one was that we had to then take apart one speaker, which was one that we didn't use at all, and then one of the front left speaker. We took the audio driver out of that and put it into the one that had blown, and then we had to from there go on to using one of the bigger ones that we don't use anymore, because we used to have 6. Now we only use 4 because it's such a small room anyway. We can get enough volume throughout the whole venue. So we had to put one of those huge speakers at the back behind the audience, just so it was more balanced out. Another technical difficulty we discovered was that my MacBook, which run QLab, we had some video projectors. We had one video projector, but we had the projections from QLab straight onto the projector using the VGA cable, which was run from one end of the theatre to the other, lighting desk. What the issue was that my laptop originally found the VGA cable, but now doesn't currently. We didn't have enough time to discover what was wrong or how to fix it, because we had the two shows. Basically, one day was the dancers, the next day was then the actors, and it alternated between the two. The first year actors and first year dancers were in the dance show as well. The actors did a couple of their pieces from Footloose, which we are currently doing now, and is to be, from now it is, I believe it's 2 weeks from now, which will be an amazing show to work on, because I'm doing the sound, lighting, props, set, and helping out a costume, and also the running of the show with tickets, programs, and all the front of house stuff as well during my production role on that. So I have all creative design over everything running backstage and everything else. But continuing on to the shows that we've just been, I'd say there was one issue when we were running one of our shows for the actors. That was partly to do with that we hadn't been told a lighting cue change. So there was basically a scene where someone was sat on a chair. People were saying words as like inside thoughts and messages that were being read on the phone. When we did the dress run, they had it all on the stage around person on the chair, Erin, who was on the chair currently. But during the actual performance, when I ran it the first time, they had changed it without telling me, which was a bit of a shock because we missed the lighting cue completely and sound in that fact. Partly to do with that we were using all visual cues with also the speech. So when they didn't come on stage, it was a bit of a shock. But I don't think the audience really noticed, because obviously they hadn't seen the show before, so it wasn't too bad. The only thing was that obviously I knew and the actors knew, but we then rectified that by obviously knowing the lighting cue for the next show. But a bit more on to everything else. Get on to my notes. So the responsibilities and tasks that I carried out on this show was, firstly, obviously helping with programming and operating the lighting, sound, and the live stream that we had, due to the limited numbers allowed in the venue currently because of COVID. So that's how we overcome, obviously, the limited spaces. We had to live stream so other people could see. The one downside to it was obviously we didn't have a full venue, but the audience overall was very responsive, and obviously joined in, clapping if there was any clapping or anything like that, which obviously brought up the excitement and the show. Overall experience was a lot better than doing it to an empty room, just a live stream, which was all right. During obviously the challenge between having people in the venue was because of COVID and the 1 meter distance rule between everyone. So we had to have groups of people, obviously 2 people per person were allowed to come, I believe. So obviously every actor or every dancer had 2 tickets for obviously their 2 shows, so they could obviously choose who they had one night or the other. But obviously because there was limited space and everything else, we had to then seat. Everyone was sat in between, so we had the raised seating obviously so everyone could sit up and see over the top of each other, so the view wasn't too bad for anyone. It wasn't like someone was sat behind directly in front of a head. But no, the main thing was that we had to obviously space everyone out once we knew who was coming for what show, which was a bit of a challenge, to say the least, to figure out the meter distance between all the seats. But after we'd done it about 3 times or so, it was quite easy, obviously because we become a lot more natural at it, which we've obviously still got to do for Footloose, which again is one of the shows coming up, which I'm excited for. The last point on lighting and sound really is that for the actors show, the actors had obviously designed the lighting themselves. Louise, who was their stage manager, she'd obviously come up with a whole entire plot list of lights, which Rob was then in charge of programming them in, whilst I was assisting with that, just making sure that all the cues weren't missed or anything else during the run through, because obviously there's so much going on, we could have easily missed one little detail that they wanted in, so we tried to include every single thing possible we could have. The other thing that we had was a smoke machine, which a week before, prior to the show, we had to find and then try and fix it, because the rubber pipe that connects the tank to the actual heating element, which had actually corroded, well not corroded, but it frayed or something, and the rubber had cracked because it had been sat for about 2 years or something without doing anything. Obviously liquid still in it, it wasn't the best, so we had to get new tubes. Overall, I think the show went very well and enjoyed working on both of them. I did do a bit of stage management / backstage work on both the shows, which obviously got a sense of other jobs as well as operating the live stream with a camera. But no, that is the conclusion for both of those shows, and I'll see you next time.
Now turn up.